Hello and welcome back to the Rugby Pod. I'm Andy Rowe. Big Jim and Goodey are with me as usual. We're going to take a look back at all the Premiership action from the weekend and the return of fans on Monday night. And the European finals are on this weekend. So we've got friend of the show, former La Rochelle and current Toulouse fly half Zack Holmes joining us ahead of the Champions Cup final. So turn up the volume, open up your cloth, and make sure you've subscribed on Spotify. How's your week been, boys?
Great. Not a lot.
People asking where you were, Jim, on the weekend.
Well, we can come on to you in a minute, Andy Rowe.
He was just desperate to get that in. We were going to ask you, Andy Rowe.
Let's ask him now. Andy Rowe, how did it go at the weekend? What time did you get? Let's get it out of the way.
I didn't win it. I got an hour 25, which is still half than what you did last time.
Well, for context to the listeners, we've got to describe it a bit better, lads. For context to the listeners, you did the Eton Mess triathlon, didn't you?
Sprint triathlon.
And I was on the bike, and one of the lads was asking where Big Jim was. So I just quick shout out to Will, who I biked around the cycle league with, asking if Big Jim's leg was actually a blown calf, which I'm sure it wasn't.
Hold on a minute, Andy Rowe. In all my years of competition, when you're competing at the top level, and when you're in the middle when you're in the middle of a race in a battle man on man, you ain't got time to talk to the other competitors, mate. You ain't working hard enough, clearly.
When you're at the back, Goodey, when you're at the back, if you've listened to his time, once the race is done, mate, it's done. Once you've got no chance, you just cycle at the back with Will and you're asking where Big Jim was. I'll tell you where Big Jim was. Enough of you. Hell of a week, lads. So on Friday, I was on a plane. Can you believe it? Yeah. I was on a plane. Unfortunately not, no. It's similar in terms of excitement, but once I landed in London to interview Maro Toji, the excitement wasn't quite the same as being in Ibiza with the Cops kids or Andy Rowe Stag Do. But nonetheless, I was on a plane, very weird. Social distance, but don't social distance. You can take your mask off when you have a drink of water because apparently it's safe to do that. But as soon as you've had a sip, you need to pull your mask back on. All very weird, but nonetheless exciting. So that was on Friday. Saturday, did the big one. Andrew, the big one, hashtag always Edinburgh against Glasgow. Don't know if you saw it, but it was actually a good game.
Yeah, I didn't see it. No, that's right. It was the 1642 Mickey Mouse Cup or something, was it?
As well, it was the 1872 Cup, but it wasn't the 1872 Cup, if you know what I mean, because they already played that. But bless them, they're trying to get the games, aren't they? You got the Rainbow Cup with the South African teams, but the South African teams aren't playing any other team apart from the South African teams, and the South African teams aren't playing each other because they've been cancelled or postponed. So that's not happening. But apparently, there's going to be a North versus South, so a Pro 14 North and a South African. The winners of however that all works, if you can unravel the Da Vinci Code, they're going to play a game in Europe. The front runners at the minute, Andrew, are who, do you think, in the Northern Hemisphere?
Well, I can tell you, James, it's Benetton. And ever since your documentary they did out there, they went to shit and then they binned off the documentary. And now they're 3 from 3. I think they've beaten Zebra 3 times, haven't they? So
there you go. You know your ruggers, so you even know more than me on that sense. Because you probably knew that I was going to ask you about you knowing and me knowing that. But yeah, that's right. Benetton are front runners, mate, to represent the Northern Hemisphere in the Rainbow Cup finale. So yeah, that was good. So I was doing that at the weekend.
I do wonder how many people are watching those games, Jim. I really do.
Well,
obviously, no one in the stadiums yet, but they're starting to come back now. So it will go from 0 people to about 5 people in the Rainbow Cup Pro 14 Guinness, whatever it is. But yeah, listening to your comms, mate, silky again. Silky it was.
Silky?
Yeah, silky voice.
You didn't watch it, Andrew. That's what you just said.
You're right. I didn't watch it. But you kept sending me your clips, didn't you?
Since I fluffed my lines that one time when I was talking about the evolution around the red card 20 minutes and I was it sounded like I was drunk. I don't send the clips anymore, mate, because I need to build myself back up. But Andrew, before I get on to another couple of other things that I wanted to talk about off the back of Andy Rowe's walk-in sprint triathlon, absolute embarrassment, I had a pulled calf. The lid is looking on point, not mine, obviously, yours, Andrew.
Yeah, Bob. Yeah, it's it's in the hairdresser again. It's pubs are opening, indoor pubs are opening now, so you don't have to go and freeze your tits off outside. So I thought I'd get the lid done. We had an interesting weekend actually. Friday, we took the twins to their first day of school, like an induction afternoon it was, because they're starting school in September. And first and foremost, can't believe how quickly that's gone. Secondly, I just keep saying sorry to all the parents. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry for that. Just blame the nanny. It's her fault. She's taught them to do this.
She's effectively bringing them up. Yeah.
Basically, they've gone into this new school they're going to where the nursery is, and we stayed with them for a couple of hours. And my two have just gone in there and they're just dominating the space. So any toys they want, they just go up to other kids, taking it off them. Because they're twins, they've got so much confidence. And especially Olivia is so leery. I'm just going around apologising left, right, and centre for her behaviour because she just thinks anything that she can have, she can. So it's probably because try and give her as much as you can. But yeah, we were at New School Friday, so I needed a few drinks on Friday evening. Got the lid done, gone out for some food, and yeah. And then I was working Saturday up at Leicester.
Well, let's talk about that game on Saturday, Goodey.
So it's quite ironic, Genji had a big game, to be fair to him. And there was a stage in the match where Genji was sent to the sin bin, Dan Cole was sent to the sin bin. So they took off Nemani Nandolo to bring another prop on. And I thought, first and foremost, don't take Nemani Nandolo off. Just get Nandolo on the scrum, boys. It'll increase the weight tenfold. But Nandolo's come off for a rest. And as they go back on together, I've looked at Nandolo and I've looked at Genji as they're running on next to each other. And I'm like, Genji looks like a 14-year-old boy stood next to a grown man. And then Genji was just monstering people left, right, and centre. He's posted a few pictures of his arms that look massive. And all in my head, all I've got this vision of, at the time, I thought he looked like a 14-year-old boy stood next to Nandolo. But what a game from Genji. Yeah, so hard. He was abrasive. The yellow card, it is a yellow card because of the way it's been refereed now. A shot to the head in a clear out. Some people saying it should have been nothing. Some people saying it should have been red. He felt he was hard done by with the yellow, but he came back on, and then I'm thinking he's going to explode here. It's only going to take Joe Marler 1 second to wind him up, and he's gone, red card. But no, Genji then powers through about 15 tackles, scores a couple of tries, scored a try from a tap and go when Matt Simmons was trying to hug him up high. I mean, just get your head down there, son, and bury someone. But no, Genji was monstrous. So Leicester dominated them physically. Quins they came back in the last sort of 5 minutes when they started chucking it around. Leicester had taken a lot of their boys off with one eye on the Challenge Cup final this Friday against Montpellier. And Quins came back into it with a bit of magic from Marcus Smith. But yeah, Leicester was dominant, very dominant, actually. It was a big performance and exactly what you want, to get into the top 8. Leicester moved up to 6th now off the back of that, because obviously the qualification for the Champions Cup next year is the top 8. So they've got one shot at doing it that way. Or if they win the Challenge Cup on Friday against Montpellier, they qualify for the Champions Cup next season that way. So it was a good win and a good old school Leicester performance. It just reminded me of you, Jim. Carrying that A team on the Monday night when we played for the first team on a Saturday, and then we used to come watch you boys on a Monday night at Welford Road. Empty stands, empty stadium, and there was a couple of second rows. Callum Green played very well actually. He was leaping like a salmon for the kickoffs, and I'm just thinking Jim Hamilton right there. Tried to get him on comms. Ben Kay was like, no, that's more like Ben Kay than Jim Hamilton. I'm like, Benny, I'm sure they came off your head. No, that was Jim. That was Jim when they bounced off your head.
That was definitely me. That was definitely me. But how good was it seeing fans?
3,000 fans at Ashton Gate even.
I thought there was more. I thought it seemed like there was more there. Maybe because we've not heard any of them. And they were just roaring like bears, weren't they, the old barebacks? But I thought it was great. The game, I can't work it out whether or not it was really good, really interesting or shite. I watched it obviously live, and Maxwell Keys even called the lads out of the scrum and said, look, we've got fans at the stadium, like they ain't come here to watch this. And he was right. But to be fair, I'm glad they moved it to Monday Neat. Like we said, Andrew, I'm well aware of Monday Neat football and local derby. I'll be honest, right? I tweeted it. It could have been 80. Bristol could have had 80 points on that scoreboard, right? With the amount of tries that were disallowed. Gloucester, from where they've come from, right, at the beginning of the season and all the turmoil they were under with, the coaches and all that drama around Danny Cipriani or whatever, they got balls. I'm telling you now. They've got an undercurrent of guys like Ed Slater, Lewis Ludlow. Yeah, like they've got these guys that are in that team, like Billy Twelvetree's fronted up as well physically.
Played very well. Played very well at 10.
Where you think they could have just folded, and when they went down to 13 men, and you've got a scrum on your own try line, right? And you've got my old Semi, who is absolutely shredded, and you've got Pietau, and you've got Malins on the wing, and you've got just talent littered everywhere. I saw enough in that part of the game at that given moment where they held them out, and Pietau was held up, knocked the ball on. I don't even know what happened. There's so much that was going on, and so many drop balls over the line and held up, that I actually saw enough underbelly that I think Gloucester are going to be all right. So I was impressed with them. Bristol, I mean, what do you take from that game, really? Is it an over arrogance? I didn't see Pat Lamb's interview after, but I mean, it was embarrassing. Was it embarrassing? It was comical, I think. It was hard to work out, but I mean, it would going back to the fans bit. I mean, it was quality to see fans back in, and Bristol fans as well. Having not seen their team as good as they've been this year live, I think it was class for them.
Just go back to the impact that fans make, having them back in the stadium. Do you think they made a difference in Newcastle's win over Northampton?
Yeah, I think they did. But also, Saints, what are you doing? What's happened there? 2 weeks ago, Saints are right in the mix for the top 4. They've lost at home to Gloucester, where they got the pants pulled down. Then they've gone away to Newcastle. Games that you actually think are nailed on victories if you're a top 4 team. And it all came down to one scrum. It wasn't a great game. The Newcastle fans made a big difference in terms of the noise. But anyone that gets a chance to watch some of the highlights, have a look at Newcastle's try in the second half. And basically watch. You want to see a scrum go in reverse? Oh, my skates! They were on roller skates. Northampton scrum. It was their own put in. They got driven back about 5 or 6 meters off their own ball, and then Newcastle scored in the corner, and that was the difference. It wasn't a great game, but Newcastle are very dogged up there, and while they haven't got much to play for, there's a slight chance they could get in the top 8. It was a good win for them, but Northampton Saints, what are you doing? Chris Boyd must be tearing his hair out.
Let's just blame the bogey monster.
Yeah, Sam Vesti, what are you doing?
That's the top 4 done and dusted now, isn't it, with Northampton losing?
Yeah, 100%. And the fact that Quinn's got 2 points in defeat at Leicester, so they scored 4 tries and lost by under 7 points. It meant that Saints were 11 points behind going into their game against Newcastle. Saints obviously had 4 games to go at that point. They lose to Newcastle. It's all over, Red Rover. Something miraculous would have to happen to Harlequins, lose all 3 games.
I can't believe Quins are going to be top 4.
Well, they are. Actually, do you know what? I met Billy Millard after the game on Saturday. What a lovely bloke, first and foremost. And I forget, it's such a small world, rugby. He came up to me after the game. We were having a chat, and what a lovely bloke Billy Millard is. He was coaching Sydney University years ago, and I went to watch a game out there when I was on tour with England. He's like, we're having a chat. I had no recollection of, I was probably on the piss, so I probably didn't even have a recollection of being at the game. But Billy Millard, lovely bloke. And Quins, they've made some moves. They've got their coach lined up, I think. That'll be announced over the next couple of weeks.
Who?
I don't know.
If you were to say, who do you think it might be? Give me a hint and I'll say it.
I don't know. I generally don't know. I've been racking my brains.
Why is mine then?
I was like, go on, Billy, let me know. And he's like, nah, mate, it's one of 2. And I'm like, you know who it is, don't you? He's like, yeah.
I thought they'd keep Nick Evans.
Well, I think they're looking for more of a, because there's a difference, isn't there, right? So Billy Millard is overseeing rugby operations at the minute, and he's just letting the coaches do what they do. But a director of rugby, head coach / rugby operations manager, you've got so much stuff away from the field to do, which Nick Evans ain't going to want to do. Nick Evans and Adam Jones and Jerry Flannery, those boys are on-field coaches, proper, decent coaches that have got so much experience around the game of winning, losing, different areas of expertise, contracts and recruitment and all that stuff. It's a whole different job, isn't it? And some deal.
So who do you reckon? Who do you reckon, though? Come on.
I generally don't know. Conor O'Shea's coming back. You what? No, Conor. It wouldn't surprise me if Conor O'Shea goes back there, but I don't think it's.
Well, the battle to qualify for the Champions Cup looks like it will probably go into the final day with a load of teams still in contention, and Wasps, Goodey, are still in the hunt after the win.
Yeah, we're in the top 8 now, pal. Massive victory over Worcester, who haven't won a game since October or something. Jeez. Yeah, it was. Worcester actually started all right. I think they got 13-0 up, 13-3 up, came out after half time. Worcester dominated them for 15, 20 minutes, took the lead. Then Ben Morris gets sent off for a shot to the head of Ollie Lawrence, which, Dan Robson's had a bit of a moan about it because he thought they've seen yellow cards for them, similar tackles, seen red cards. I think it's a red. But they just went back to go, Jim. Went back to the go, the driving line out. That one in the game. Brad Shields played very well. And they're back in the top 8. So Worcester, and I said it last week, Worcester haven't won a game since the first game of the season when they've taken the field. I mean, how bad's that? But they've improved. And I tell you what Worcester have, for all Worcester fans listening, they've announced today that Johnny Bell, is it Johnny Bell?
Yeah.
Yeah. They've announced today that Johnny Bell's leaving Glasgow to go to Worcester next year to be the defence coach. And he was a hell of a defence coach at Gloucester. So, things are looking up for Worcester fans in terms of performance, but unfortunately not in the wins column because they lost another game, although it was a close game. But Worcester in the top 8 now. So
it was Ash's fault.
It was Ash's fault, Andrew. He didn't play again, I don't think.
But his influence, his negativity on the team is just bringing them down.
And Sale ground out a good win at Bath on Friday night as well, didn't they?
I thought Jim was playing for Sale. I thought you were playing for Sale, Jim.
Which one? Who? Where?
Well, they gave 20 penalties away in the whole game. It might have been 21. It might have been 22. And I just thought Jim suits that team. Just give penalties away, yet you still win.
It is quite comical, isn't it, actually? Like, you're looking at Al Sanderson's interviews after, and it's, can you carry on in this vein, or is it going to come back to bite them like a shark?
Oh, get you. See what you've done there.
Got my analogies. They're back. They're back, of course. I thought for me, Bath are a hard one to work out. Since the arousing speech, it just things ain't going the right way for them. But look, I don't want to fanboy Sale too much. We obviously like them, Andrew. We've got no real affiliation except I scored in the final against them in 2006, albeit they beat us by 40 points at Leicester. But we've mentioned it before, with Al Sanderson going in there, the culture, the shift, the
South Africans.
It's not a fluke. The South Africans. It's not a fluke that he's gone there and that they've done well. So to see them in the top 4, if any team has got an opportunity with their defence and the resilience that they've got, and the South Africans against the Fijians, against Bristol, Sale got a real opportunity. However, the Prem finishes that top 4. Big fan of Sale. Don't really know what to make of Bath except they're getting rid of the best players at Mercer. Très bizarre.
Yeah. Right. And to be fair, one thing you need to mention: did you see AJ McGinty through the legs? I couldn't do that. I can do that physically, probably because the belly's hanging down, and also the piece. You wouldn't get it through the legs with the piece. But AJ McGinty at speed through his legs creates a try. Weldy.
The zip, you mean? Not the the zip, the bum bag zip.
Okay, let's have a look ahead to the Champions Cup final now, and it's an all-French affair between La Rochelle and Toulouse. How do you guys see it panning out?
I ain't into it as much.
What?
Yeah, I know.
I can't wait for it. I genuinely can't wait for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll obviously watch it, and it will obviously be absolutely amazing. But I like seeing a Pro 14 team in there or a Prem team. Like that's kind of like my go-to every week will be a few of their matches. So it would be nice to see it. The French semi-finals that we saw and the quarterfinals were absolutely village. And that's my worry, is that we're going to get something like that. I hope we don't. I hope La Rochelle just be like, fuck it, lads. I don't know how you say it in French. Fuck it. And they literally just throw everything at it and just play the most unbelievable style of rugby we've ever seen. And just instead of a tactical kicking game. Now, the way that La Rochelle play, I can't see them doing that. But there's a chance they could do that because they go into their shells. They think they need to play a certain way. Don't give the ball to Cheslin Colby. Don't give the ball to Untermack. Don't give the ball to Joe Takori, who's 56 years old. And, Jerome Kane, who's on his final swan song. But I like Toulouse as well. But there's a part of me, the romance in me, with Ronan O'Gara, with where La Rochelle have come from, the fact that Toulouse have got history in the competition. But I love Toulouse as well. So maybe I am. Look at me. I'm talking myself round, lads.
There you go, Jim. You're looking forward to it
I
now.
can't wait.
Yeah, for me, I used to commentate a lot on the top 14 games when Sky had the rights over here. And unfortunately, no one's got the rights to the top 14 anymore to play those games. So I enjoy the French on French games, although the semi-final, Toulouse against Bordeaux, was absolutely shocking. And the picture that I did raise of Marchand with his shoulder to the head, he's been banned, so the skips ain't there. I fancy La Rochelle, I do. I know Toulouse have got a few injuries. They've got worldies, no doubt, in Dupont and Colby, who can win a game out of nothing, and Tamac as well. But I just still, that semi-final game that La Rochelle played against Leicester, and you do think, is that their final? You know, is it the England World Cup when they beat New Zealand in the semi and then didn't turn up for the final? You worry if that's the case. But when you've got Big Willie, Little Willie, size 23 boots, you've got Bottier if he's fit. Yeah, you've got Dylan Lades at fullback. You've got Raymond Rule, Victor Vito.
They need Bottier fit. They need, Victor Vito as well, because they need Bottier. That's for me, the player which I've seen where, like a semi-Randra, you're like, this lad is spectacular. And he's there. I know they've got X-Factor players, like you mentioned, Big Willie, Little Willie Skelton. They've got some quality players. But for me...
Gregory Aldrete as well, Scotsman.
Who's all right. He's all right.
So, yeah, they've got player. You know, again, I always think back to, and I said it before, the semi-final, Ihia West. Is he a 10 that's going to win you a game? Well, he proved it in the semi-final. Yes, he is. So I don't know whether that's a weak link.
It'll be all right. Games in England will be all right.
Yeah, I've never been overly enamoured by Barlow at 9. So, you know, Dupont, his battle.
Are you picking on all the Kiwis?
Oh, mate, what's wrong with you? No, I'm not. I'm
jealous. He's jealous, Andy Rowe, of us.
I ain't jealous. I'm of us. You're a Scotsman, Jim.
It's the same thing.
You're English. You just weren't
New
good
Zealand
enough.
and Scotland, the same thing.
He's confused.
Hamilton, Dunedin, full of Scotland people. Invercargill, they drive shit cars like they do in Scotland. Mate, I'm effectively a Kiwi.
Yeah, fair enough. So they got Bruce Dillon at fullback as well, who's a outstanding player. So like you said, Jim, you do see some French games that are dull as dishwater. So you hope it's not that way. But then, has there been many finals that are unbelievable spectacles? You think back over all the finals that we've seen. Some are. I mean, Exeter's final last year was pretty special, wasn't it? In them beating Racing, that was a great game. You hope it's something like that. I'm excited to see it because it's the crescendo of an amazing competition that we've both been involved in over the years, both won, and it's an amazing spectacle. And there's going to be 10,000 fans at Twickers.
Well, Goodey, you mentioned that you boys have both played and won European Cup finals. Any big memories that stand out?
My memory was when we played the 2001 final in Leicester. Sorry, when we played the 2001 final for Leicester in Paris against Stade Francais. We
in the amateur era. That was the amateur era back then.
No,
it was. Yeah, it was a back
it wasn't, mate. 2001, mate. It was pro. I was 21 years of age, wet behind the ears. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. Didn't have a clue about how to manage a game. Luckily, Pat Howard was playing outside me. We're playing Stade Francais, Paris, in the Parc des Princes. Unbelievable stadium. It nearly kicked off as the boys were running out. So we came out first. They made us wait. Darren Garforth sweating like you wouldn't believe because it was about 35 degrees that day. Dorian West is sunburnt already from the warm-up. And then eventually Stade Francais come out. All the lads, all our team start walking towards them as if it's going to kick off before the kick off.
Oh, lads, the old school Leicester.
Honestly, like Jono's there, raring to go. Darren Garforth itching his skin and he's ready to have a go. I'm at the back like a 21-year-old kid shitting myself. What's happening here?
Hair or no hair? At this point, have you got the
No, I had hair. No, I had hair at that point. I hadn't blown off the back yet. I was shitting myself. I'm like, what am I doing playing the Champions Cup final at 21 years of age? And then it's about to kick off before the kickoff. And you'll see me miles at the back just going, I was probably trying to talk to Jordan going, what are we going to do, mate? I ain't throwing any punches here. So it was a great day, though. And we ended up, no doubt, drinking all the way through the night after we'd won it. And a few boys were scrapping. Of course, they were on a boat going around Paris. No idea. I just remember we drank for about 3 days. Responsibly.
Who's going on a boat? Who's going on a boat in Paris? I thought it was in the centre of France.
Mate, we had a boat trip on the Seine after winning it with the cup. Leicester, mate, boys are scrapping. You know what it's like, Jim, back in the day.
I do know. I remember
you win your scrap, you lose your scrap. Basically,
which is effectively winning in the Leicester eyes of old. Yeah, it's it's the same. You were wet behind the ears at the age of 21, Andrew, and you were kind of taken aback by the bright lights. It was similar to me. Yeah, I mean, ironically, my last game was the European Cup final. What a story!
Really,
it's like
Jim?
you go out on your own terms.
Your last start was against Claremont in the final.
No, I was on the bench for 20 seconds, but it doesn't matter. The story goes, my final game, ironically, with the amount of blood, sweat and tears that I spread out across the Murrayfield Stadium in Edinburgh, lost the matches, that I actually retired on my back, looking up at the sky thinking, I'm a two-time European champion, ladies and gentlemen. And albeit 20 seconds, we'll accelerate that to 4 or 5 minutes. That was
call
one
40,
game,
mate.
right?
Call it 40. Call it 40.
Let's just call it 55. Let's round it up. So I've played 55 minutes in the final game of my career, and we won the European Cup. Now, it's one of them where I know I get called John Terry. I posted a picture of it on Instagram this week. That was actually the year before in Lyon. But nonetheless, they're pictures that get a lot of likes, Andrew. You build your profile by having these moments. But yeah, I'll be honest, if I didn't get on for them 20 seconds, I'd be a different man. I probably wouldn't even be here, lads, today. I wouldn't be doing the podcast today. I'm a different man for doing it because I earned that 20 seconds. To this day, there ain't an ounce of embarrassment of me being on that pitch for the last 20 seconds. The game was unlosable. As Mark McCall said, get everyone on but Jim. When it's unlosable, just get him on there. So it was unlosable. I was on, and weirdly enough, it was like we take the piss, whatever. It was right. It felt right. It didn't feel like I shouldn't have celebrated like I did. And for anyone who saw the pictures, we're going back a bit over old ground. I knew it was my last game. Normally, humbly, I'd be at the back. I'm obviously 6'9" with heels, so I don't want to get in the way of like anyone else's glory. Fuck off, not this time. The cup is next to me. Owen Farrell's behind me, and I'm like at the front with my hands in the air like that because I knew it was my final moment. Marketing, it kept me in the public eye for the next year at least. And they're great. The European, Andrew, as you know, you've had some unbelievable experiences in them. It's like the Six Nations and the Lions Tours and all these things. The romance and the history in it, it's wicked to be a part of that.
Well, we can have a chat now with a friend of the show and a man who's perfectly placed to give us some insight into the Champions Cup final. Former La Rochelle and now current Toulouse fly half, Zack Holmes joins us. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. Cheers for having me on again.
Friend of the show, mate. How are those budgies? You've got Jim's face. No, Jim's face, my body. It's just a horrible combo, isn't it?
Yeah, I need to get them out. It's sort of threatened to warm up here, and then it gives you a couple of warm days, and then you're like, oh, yeah, turn the corner and it's back raining again. But looking forward to getting them out summer, hopefully. Got my first vaccination last week, so hopefully be able to go somewhere soonish.
Do you think with them budgies that Cheslin would know who we are? When he looks at them, will he be like, yeah, that's Jim Hamilton, the legend from the Rugby pod, and that's that bloke Andy Goodey who had no hair, who's now got hair? Would he know or not, do you think?
I haven't worn them around the club, so maybe I should get them out there and see what the reactions are from a few of the boys.
So how are you, mate? Obviously, huge week for the club, for yourself, for European Champions Cup finals don't come around too often. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's a big week for the club. Something that since my time, being my fourth year, it's something that you're made aware of the history with Toulouse and the European Cup. It's something we haven't had much success over the last 10 or so years. I haven't done too well in. So 2 semi-finals the last 2 years, and now to be in the final, it's where the club wants to be and thinks it should be. And it's a big game this weekend, and it's a big game for the city, but it's not going to come easy.
No, it's not. No, and it's class to see Toulouse back in the mix. I mean, me and Goodey speak about one of our favourite clubs. But for you personally, mate, how are you with your injury and stuff like that? It's kind of like a bittersweet thing, I imagine.
Yeah, I won't not playing. I knew sort of when I did it in the game last week, it didn't feel good. Sort of got confirmation yesterday. So now my sort of timeline going forward is to try to get back for the top 14 finals. It's sort of, I've had a few days to sort of dwell on it now. But yeah, it's sport, it's rugby. I've played in a lot of games this year and I'm grateful for that. Been able to play in quarterfinal, semi-final, even in big games, game against Munster. So I'm grateful for those opportunities, and I'm sure what the 23 that go out there will get the job done this weekend.
Just for some context, obviously you played against Bayonne at the weekend, and that was your 25th game of the season, wasn't it? So, you've grafted throughout the whole year. You played in the majority of the games. You're a little bit, because they made a few changes, didn't they, to the starting team? They played some of the younger boys, but they needed some older heads in there to still try and get a result. Did you not say to Ugo, "Come on, boy, I've played 25 games already. I need to rest up for the final"?
It's difficult now looking in hindsight. I felt good going into the week. I had no problems playing. We lost a few more in the Toulon game. I didn't play in that the week before. Had a few more injuries in the backs. So to be honest, we didn't really have too many other guys. Like, there was other guys arrested that are playing this week, but there wasn't too many other options that we could have played. And it was still, we lost the game to Bayonne on the weekend, but it's still important in our season to finish in that top 2. It's quite packed in the top 6 in the top 14. So to drop that game last week, it's a bad result for the club. For me, doing it, I did it in the 75th minute. It's pretty devastating. But that's just how I understand. If or can't, like, I didn't play or whatnot, but in saying that, I could have done it training this week. So who knows? I'm just hopefully trying to get back for the top 14 finals. Hopefully be able to win that this year. But in terms of the game this week, I think I think the boys, they've had a couple of weeks off, most of the boys that played in the semi, and so hopefully that puts us in good stead to have a massive game this weekend.
Who are the leaders in the team at Toulouse then? We're talking about one of the biggest teams in club rugby history. So when we look at it, we look at the superstars. Obviously, we can chat about them. You Cheslin Colbys of the world, and Untimac as well, and who I'm sure is a leader. But like, who's the backbone in that Toulouse team that are leading the charge?
I guess Dew has taken over that leadership since he's come into the team. You've got the older heads. You've got Jerome Kano. You've got Joe Takori, two oldest guys in the group who have so much experience. Jerome doesn't say too much, but when he speaks, you listen. And I guess Joe's just more that spiritual leader. Just he's able to get the group together so well, and just be able to just bring that enjoyment out, I guess. In terms of the French boys, you've got Dupont, who's taking probably more of a leadership role on. Guys like Francois Cross as well, who's he's got some international experience, starting to take more of that leadership role in the forward. So there's a good balance between the foreign guys, the older foreign guys, and some of the younger French guys coming through who've now got some international experience and more, I guess, comfortable taking some more leadership role in terms of the group here in Toulouse.
Yeah, you mentioned Antoine Dupont there, and we've got to chat about him because he's, a bit of a global sensation at the minute, and he's taken the game by storm. It seems everyone's talking about him as being the best player in the world at the minute. What's he like to be around? Does he like all the glitz and glamour that goes with it? Because I imagine being in Toulouse, I heard that Cheslin Colby, when I spoke to Jerome Kano, said it's just mental. What's it like for Antoine Dupont at the minute?
Yeah, he's naturally quite a quiet guy. So I think he expresses himself on the rugby field. I think for me, you just see what he can do and just how confident he is at the moment. I guess I came to Toulouse at the same time that Antoine arrived, so I've sort of seen his progression. But even when he arrived, his level then was still very high when he was playing at Cast, and now it's just to another level. And I think most people would believe he's the best 9 in the world, and I still think he can continue to grow his game, which is scary. But I think he's just becoming all round, and even if you play him at 10, or you could put him anywhere in the back line, I think he'll would dominate. So he's got freakish athletic abilities, but just the way he reads the game. And I guess like when you see most of his tries, it's backing up and he's just in the right spot at the right time. But that's just his rugby instinct. I think his ability to know where the ball's going to be and to position himself is second to none. And I think that's why he's where he sits in the game is because of that.
Let's chat about La Rochelle then, because a lot of our listeners will know about the top 14, but you actually started when you first came over at La Rochelle, and you were part of their initial journey, weren't you? You finished top of the top 14 when you were at the helm at 10 before you move over to Toulouse. It's been a phenomenal journey for La Rochelle as well, hasn't it? Promoted kind of not so long ago, and then all of a sudden they're in the Champions Cup final. But there's been this progression. There's a lot of changes happened at the club. They've got a massive team, haven't they? You got a bit of insight? Is there a bit of banter going on between you and a few of their lads before the final this weekend? Because you'd have played with a few of them.
Yeah, it's great for the club. First of all, I think I didn't know much about La Rochelle before I came to France, and then just arriving in the city, it's an amazing rugby town. Like the supporters, just every game, just make the noise that they get in that stadium. Haven't heard anywhere else, and I think since I've left, I was there for 2 years, and we were improving from those years. To see them continue that growth into where they are now and one of the strongest teams in France, I think it's great for the club and great for the city. But yeah, no, I'm still quite close to quite a few of the boys. I'm getting married at the end of July, so it's quite a few of them coming to the wedding. So they might be uninvited if they win this weekend. But no, it's good for all them. I think just the style they're playing as well. I think it's just really attractive rugby to watch. It's the game against Leicester is probably one of the best rugby games I've seen in the last few years. Just what they were able to do to Leinster. Watching that was was quite special, I guess. And especially being from there, but to miss this opportunity to play against them, and I think Toulouse, La Rochelle games over the last 3-4 years are always quite entertaining. So I hope that's the same this weekend. Both teams like to play a similar style, throw the ball around, keep it alive, offload, use that power game. So I hope it's a good spectacle. Just hopefully Toulouse get up on top.
And some of the things you mentioned there about some of the quality of the players, they've obviously got Big Willie, Little Willie Skelton playing, who you'll know pretty well from back in Australia. Bottier as well at inside centre. How are you stopping those two? Because they are monstrous, right? Is it a case of shouting your man, or 4 people going to have to go and try and bury him?
Yeah, well, it's not something that you really want to get stuck coming at you in front of, but I think, with Leps, with Bottier, I think, he's a freak athlete. I think just the power, just the acceleration into contact. It's not someone you want to get stuck tackling one-on-one, and Big Will, he's just an enormous human being. I think you try and hit him low, he's got tree trunks on him, and then you try and go high, he's going to swat you off. So yeah, it's about not giving them guys time and space, putting them under pressure, getting off the line, but it's easier said than done, especially when I think La Rochelle get their power game going. They get behind the advantage, get over the advantage line, put pressure on the defense. It's very hard to stop because you got Skelton, you got Antonio, you've got big ball carriers, which with just one-on-one defense you can't stop. So you need to get bodies in front of them and make sure that they're stopping that momentum.
All right, Zach. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show, mate. Best of luck to lose this weekend, and on a personal level, your hammy, and hopefully you get another chance to lift some silverware in the top 14 later in the season.
Cheers, boys. Thanks for having me on.
Top lad.
Top bloke. Yeah, he's a top bloke, Zach. Got a lot of time for him.
I feel inferior, I'll be honest. When I see him on Zoom, now we're recording slightly later. I look slightly older. I'd say I'm maybe a 7 out of 10 tonight. He's a straight 8 or 9. He's a straight 9 out of 10.
9.5 he is, mate. 9.5.
I'll be honest, when Carl Ferns was on, I was peacocking. When Zack Holmes is on, I'm literally falling in my seat and I'm hoping the missus don't walk in and see who am I speaking to. So I feel for him though. Hey, that's shocking. Getting injured before the final. And it was class of him to come on and, in what would have been a tough week for him, not being picked to play because of his injury.
Yeah, he's a top bloke. I've spoken to him a few times actually. He helped me get a signed shirt from a few of the Toulouse boys for a friend out in Dubai who is a Toulouse fan. Just a chef at Nova out in Dubai, no big deal. But yeah, honestly, Zack is a proper bloke. Devastated for him that he's going to miss the final. And interestingly, I'll tell you one thing for you, Jim. I thought about you the other day actually, because a friend of ours he's got to take a test to get the UK citizenship, and he's just done his French test. And we were going through, chatting over the phone. They were like, "Oh, look, try doing a UK citizenship test to see if you know any of the answers." I had no clue about being an English or a British citizen for the test that we do. Imagine doing it in a foreign language as well. Imagine trying to learn stuff about France.
I'll probably pass.
Mate, no chance. So he's a great bloke, and fingers crossed he gets fit before the end of the season and they're in another final that he can play in.
Let's have a chat about the Challenge Cup final too, because your old club Leicester are up against friend of the show Philippe St Andre's Montpellier. How do you see that?
My old club, Andy. Right?
Jim,
so
mate, divided loyalties.
Old club. Yeah,
divided loyalties for you, Jim. Is it?
No, there's not. No.
You got a hell of a payout from Montpellier though.
There's nothing, man. I think they literally paid me to leave.
How do you reckon it's going?
Which is
a payout, man. It's a payout, mate. I had one from Saracens. Please leave. Off you go. There's a load of cash. It's an interesting one because Montpellier is so up and down. But you saw again they win the semi-final away at Bath, showing a bit of resilience and a bit of forward power. So you just don't know which Montpellier team are turning up, do you?
I don't think it matters. I think Leicester. I can't believe I'm saying this from where they've come from. Are way too good for Montpellier, as in way too good. Yeah. From what I've seen with Montpellier, I know friend of the show, Philippe, and we've got Alex Ladowski there and probably a load of other lads that listen to the show and absolutely love it. But for me, the way that Leicester have played, and the way that they played at the weekend and their big game players like Genji, the Holo going up against his old club as well. Yeah. So underlying narrative around that. And Jasper Wiese, they've got some quality players. So
they're abrasive. Leicester, they've got that gnarly edge back to them. And I just think, like tactically as well, whoever they pick at 9, whether it's Ben Youngs or Richard Wigglesworth, they're worldy of experience for both of those two players. George Ford played really well at the weekend at 10.
Not a boy. There's a spirit.
Well, just be honest, mate, isn't it? They do have Montpellier have got X factor players that can win them the game. But for me, Leicester, the form they've kind of grown into, and a lot of it's based around some tough, hard South Africans. We've seen a bit of bite in some of the players. Tom Youngs has been quality as well for them. I think everyone expected Montoya to be the big player at hooker this year, but he's out injured. So Tom Youngs is, what he's given, and it's maybe one of his last opportunities as a club captain to lift a trophy. So I think, Leicester at Twickenham, with the form they're in, I'm expecting a Leicester victory on Friday night.
Me too. Makes sense. Leicester at Twickenham. Just sounds right. I'm going for Leicester.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Goodey. Thanks, producer Tim. And thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube and head on over to Spotify. We'll see you there.
Rugby Spod.
Spotted pod.